views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening. Welcome to the Bronx Buzz. You may or may not know that this program has been around for, 4.5 years. And every now and then we like to take a deep breath and see some of the real good interviews that we've done. And so tonight we're going to kind of do a best of. We pulled out a couple of shows from this fall that we're going to give you an opportunity to see. We're going to start off this evening with the climate reporter for City Limits. She's also a reporter for Report for America Corps. Her name is Liz Donovan. She came to us on September 30th, 2021, and she talked about the climate in the borough of the Bronx. Let's take a look. I mentioned to you before the program, we had advocates, environmental advocates on our other program, Bronx Talk, this week to talk about what they thought about Governor Hochul's awarding contracts for a major green energy initiative to power New York City with wind, solar, and hydropower. It would originate from upstate New York and Canada and be transmitted all the way down. Why don't you talk a little bit, if you would, about the proposal, about the article that you wrote, and then we'll break it down as what the implications are for the borough of the Bronx.
Sure. Well, as you know, in 2019, New York State passed the Climate Leadership and Community Investment Act, which set a bunch of really aggressive targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transition to clean energy. So it was looking at 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 and 100% zero emission electricity throughout the state by 2040. So back in January, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, put out a request for proposals for companies that were going to be able to bring these clean energy projects into the state. And there were 7 proposals that were submitted. So what Governor Hochul said in her press conference was that they basically had narrowed it down to 2. And she decided the first day of Climate Week, New York City, to just go ahead with both projects that they had kind of selected as finalists. So those 2 projects, I can talk in detail about both of them.
Let me, I can list some of the things. They said it would create approximately 10,000 jobs, bring $8.2 billion in investments, including $460 million for community benefit agreements, which resonates beautifully in the borough of the Bronx. I personally didn't like the idea. They said it would be to support disadvantaged communities. It's kind of a pejorative way of talking about Bronx neighborhoods. We don't view ourselves, I think, as disadvantaged. We may be overburdened, but that's another thing. And of course, reduce the city's reliance. I guess here's the thing, reliance on fossil fuels. Here's the thing that Bronx environmental advocates were very concerned about, and that was the process, is that original documents said that the thing was going to be one of the converter stations might be in Van Cortlandt Park, which for Bronx people is a non-starter. Bronx people are always worried that we end up getting the short end of the stick. Do you want to talk directly about, is the Bronx in danger, or what do we already know about this particular project or projects that would be of interest to the people of the Bronx?
Yeah. Well, the one project that I think you're talking about is the Clean Path New York project, which for the summer, I was writing about this. Was speaking with actually Melissa Barber of South Bronx Unite, and we were just having a conversation about, different issues that Bronx residents have that I wanted to look into, and particularly interested in when projects that are meant to be renewable energy or, kind of climate, thinking forward as far as climate progress, end up hurting communities that have consistently been overburdened with highways and waste transfer plants and power plants, which, as you know, the Bronx has been. So they were at that time, the Clean Path New York project proposal showed that there was going to be a high voltage converter station that would basically, all that energy that was being brought in from upstate was going to be, or from Delaware County rather, was going to be transferred in the Bronx, and it was set to be in the Terminal Mall, right in that area, right across from the.
Originally, that's true. That was the original plan, to put it down by 161st Street. That's right.
Exactly. So Representative Richie Torres came out and he did a little presser in front of the Children's Museum and said that he had negotiated with the company and gotten them to agree to put it in a non-residential area. So at that time, I spoke with the New York Power Authority, which is one of the companies that is part of Clean Path New York. And they told me their plan was to not put it in the Bronx at all. And their new proposal that they put forth, the section, if you compare the two proposals, the section that shows where the converter station is, describing the Terminal Mall area in the first proposal, in the revised proposal, it's redacted.
Well, that alarm bells for Bronx environmental advocates.
Of course, and that was frustrating to me as a reporter too, because I thought there should be transparency with this, especially when the project had already been contentious, right? You want to get the local residents on board with a project like this that's supposed to, bring clean energy into the state. You want to be very transparent. So I reached out to NYSERDA and they told me that the location for the new converter station is going to be in Astoria, in an industrial area. I looked at the address. I also spoke with the person who he did the report. He was with the Bronx. I got it wrong in my story, and now I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. I think it was the Bronx for Urban Studies. He did a report
That's Caesar Yoke. He was one of the guests on our program this week.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm interested to hear what he said, because if he had a chance to look at it a little bit closer, because I reached out to him to find out, okay, well, this is the new idea. What do you think about this? So what his report had identified was a UK study showing clusters of leukemia among children who lived within a certain distance of.
There was a quarter mile from a station like that.
It's exactly right. It was a quarter mile. So I looked at the map, and it looks like where this converter station is now in Astoria. Because of course, then I was concerned with Astoria. That's another overburdened community.
I realize that it's not the Bronx, so it's not our direct concern. But I can understand that a reporter for City Limits would want to know a lot more. And yes, we certainly wouldn't want to burden the people of Queens either.
Right. It's the other asthma alley, right? So there's, so there was a concern there, but I did look at it on a map, and it does seem like there's nothing within 1/4 of a mile from.
Well, that's good. But here's the thing: it's the redacting. What came up from all the advocates that we had. We had the Bronx Council of Environmental Quality. We had Assembly Member Amanda Septimo, who represents a large part of the southern part of the Bronx. Their issue was, why not come to the communities beforehand? Why not really find out? Because people in the communities may know where there could be better places. And I understand that New York City has a problem because they don't have, empty property away from residential areas, other than Parkland, which of course is a non-starter. So their thing was what you've already mentioned, is transparency.
Right.
And why not work with communities rather than say, here's the plan, now what do you do?
Exactly. And to that end, NYSERDA did tell me that once the projects get underway, of course, they have to first go through permitting and regulation process with.
Sure. And environmental, we would like to think they're going to do an EIS.
Yeah, the Department of Environmental Conservation will be looking at the projects. There'll be 60 days of public comment, and NYSERDA said they will be encouraging both companies throughout the process to be engaging with the local community. So whether they do that or not, is on them. But that's what the state agencies are telling me.
I took because people in the Bronx, we had the Croton water filtration plant put in Van Cortlandt Park, and 45 acres of Van Cortlandt Park. The EIS, which was examined very carefully here in the Bronx, was baloney. I don't know what else to tell you. They talked about under $1 billion for the project. We ended up paying $4 billion. It's 15 years later. It's still not completed. So I guess we'd have to forgive Bronx advocates for saying, come to us first. Let's have a dialogue, because 60 days, how much comment can you get? And then is there really a back and forth, a give and take? It's not like people sitting around a table. So anyway, I'm sorry, because I've been hearing this for years. I don't want to throw cold water on what should be a very good project, but that's the concern that's here in the Bronx.
Well, I think it really needs to be looked at from all angles, right? Because we want green energy, of course, to come into the state, but we don't want to continue to overburden environmental justice communities. I mean, that's consistently a topic that comes up in public comment, is a specific questions about environmental justice. And that's something that, we really do need to be thinking about. And I hope that the people who are involved in this project are thinking about that.
I will also tell you, we have also invited New York Power Authority and Clean Path to come on another edition of Bronx Talk and even respond to some of these things. Let me just ask you, for you, being a climate reporter, you love writing about the environment. I mean, tell me a little bit about you, and let the people know when they read your byline on City Limits, who are they getting it from? But give us a little bit.
Yeah, I used to write about immigration. I just completed the story for the New York Times on immigration, on home health aides, and that was kind of my passion. And then I was working in France at Agence France Presse. I was on the climate desk there, and I was kind of taking major global information about climate change, the IPCC reports, things like that, and writing about it for a global audience. Now I'm able to take a lot of the social justice work that I have been doing with immigration writing and the kind of global issues of climate change and distill it for a local audience in New York, which has been really exciting for me.
What drives you? What's the motivation to do work about the environment or about immigration or things like that?
It's holding people accountable. It's holding people accountable from and making sure that people who have already consistently been overburdened in society are not continuing to be so.
Listen, you've come to the right place if you're talking to the borough of the Bronx.
Right.
One of the things, just going back to that project, one of the things in their information, I think, that the governor put out, they talked about $2.9 billion in public health benefits to basically deal with people who have been affected by these things. I'd like to get to a situation where we do it from a preventative point of view rather than say, well, you got asthma, now we'll put funding into treating asthma. I mean, that's not, it's not where it's at. Do you think that part of this dialogue, you see, if you talk to people in the South Bronx, they'll say the first thing we should do is get rid of these peaker plants that are fossil fuel generating plants that are, of course, affecting the lungs of all of our children. Do you think that could be part of the dialogue, or at this point they're just going to talk about, for 60 days, they're going to talk about the 2 lines that are coming down from Canada? Yeah,
I mean, the peaker plant discussion has been going on for a while. I know Comptroller Scott Stringer has been talking about that, and New York Power Authority has, I forget the number, I want to say 5, but that might be wrong, maybe 7 peaker plants in the city that it runs. So yeah, hopefully as we switch to green energy, we won't need these extremely dirty sources of energy to handle the overload. Peaker plants really only run when, air conditioning is on a lot, kind of during the summer.
Right. Maybe the message then is help is on the way. I wish that is the message. But anyway, Liz Donovan, we're going to keep reading you in City Limits. You are a wealth of knowledge for us here in the Bronx because, as you know, we're all concerned about the environment and our health. And we certainly appreciate you joining us in the Bronx Buzz. And we look forward to having you come back because guaranteed there's going to be a follow-up on this and more environmental projects in the future.
Of course. And your viewers can feel free to contact me if you have any tips or any questions or anything like that about the climate.
Great. Thank you to Liz Donovan for joining us. She was with us, as I said, on September 30th of this year. We're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to go out to Orchard Beach and a photographer who has done a wonderful study, a photographic study of the people of Orchard Beach. So we'll do that in a moment. Don't go away.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. And my longtime friend Ron Turner joined us on September 2nd. He told us about a photography series that he had done going out to Orchard Beach every day because he found the people at Orchard Beach who were there every day are worth looking at. So we'll take a look at the segment that we did with Ron Turner of the Focal Point Gallery on September 2nd, 2021 here on the Bronx Buzz. There were a couple of things that inspired this visit to our program. One of many that you've done over the years is you had two, I thought, fascinating concepts. You decided, because you're right near Orchard Beach, that you go to Orchard Beach all the time, and you said there are people you see all the time, and you decided to make like a photo show out of it. Talk to me about what the inspiration was, and then who it was that we were looking at.
I've been walking over to Orchard Beach for years now, early in the morning, to take photographs and to, of course, take my dog Monita for her exercise as well as my exercise. And I would always run into the same people. And after a while, I started to get to know the people, and I decided to photograph them and become a little more familiar with them, like asking them what their name was, what they did. And 9 times out of 10, people are more than happy to share their lives with you. And especially, this all started during the height of COVID. It was a safe place to go out and walk. And, you know, you could still keep a safe distance. And people were lacking this connection. And it was a way of connecting with people. And that's what it was really all about.
We're going to take a look, obviously, at some of the photographs. Tell me visually what you saw. I know when I look at the portraits, and you are just one of the best portrait. There you go. You are one of the best portrait takers that I've ever met. Tell me what it was when you saw these people that made you say, you know what, visually, this is worth taking a look at.
Well, almost all the people that I see, I find interesting. I love people's faces, and I want to try to capture the face and see if it could tell the story. But even better yet, let me find out a little bit about them. Like the first one, that was Lewis. And I gave him, what I do is I always carry the photographs with me. So in case I do come across them again, I give them back their photographs.
Oh, that's nice.
They're sharing with me their life, and I figure I should share what I do. And it's, again, making a connection. And Lewis who was so happy with the pictures that he got. And he was an interesting man. He was a veteran. He did 2 tours in Baghdad. He was suffering from PTSD, and he went to Orchard Beach and Pelham Bay Park, that area, to go fishing because that helped him to get rid of the stress. The guy on the bike, that was Scott. Now, Scott's an interesting guy. What he does is that he's a scientist who's been working on the COVID, the vaccine, and he's a scientist from Einstein. And what he does before he goes to work, he rides the bike to Orchard Beach, and then rides it all the way then to Einstein.
Wow. Wow. What's really fascinating to me, aside from the what I think are beautiful portraits, and we're going to show more in a second, is this is such a slice of life. And I have to tell you, I'm particular to Bronx life. This is who we are. So you got one guy, he served in the military and he goes fishing. Another guy is, a scientist at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, researching the most important stuff of our time. And he's at Orchard Beach. This is what the Bronx. This is who we are. And I believe you've captured it. Here we go.
Yeah, that's Carlos. Carlos is originally from Cuba. I've photographed him now for years. That is Alex. Alex is a retired now motorman who, has the back problem, and walking helps his back problem. This is that was Ash. He was funny. He said his friends call him Ash Man, and he doesn't mind. He's a stone carver in the Bronx by Tremont for the headstones, and he does the sandblasting, and he says he could sandblast just about anything you want, the names, the pictures, but he does all the tombstones, all the sandblasting.
Well, wittingly or unwittingly, Ron, you really got a slice of Bronx life. I mean, when I hear even these brief bios of people, this is really the heart and soul of the Bronx. And all it was you saying, you know what? Orchard Beach. Let's take a look and see what people are doing. And you really do see these people essentially every morning?
Almost every morning. I mean, Lily, for example, who was, praying like that,
right?
She comes every Monday to collect the cans because Monday is a better day to collect all the cans.
And tragically, that is part of the Bronx, right?
And she's put her kids through college with the additional revenue from collecting cans.
Wow,
you got a sweet lady.
You got to write a book. I got to tell you something. If you want to put it in a book, and this photograph I just love. If you want to put it in the book, I'll be happy to write the blurbs for you.
That would be great. I would like
this. I love because she looks anything but a nasty woman. If that ain't the Bronx, I don't know what is.
That is Nancy. She is one strong person. She walks every single day, rain, shine, in the snow. She is so into walking that she went to Spain and did the famous walk in Spain, which is called the Camino de Santiago, which takes 4 to 6 weeks, 500 miles that she walked. And she walks every day to Orchard Beach and further.
And the other ones, they're all just iconic photographs. Now, are these on display at the Focal Point Gallery? I assume things are for sale.
If somebody requests, I can print them. What I do, as I said, I make sure that the person gets a picture because I do carry them with me when I go for my walk. And I put them up on Instagram and I put them up on Facebook to share the images with people, for people to realize that the Bronx, as you said, and Orchard Beach and Pelham Bay Park is a gift to us, that it's an amazing place. It's a melting pot. You can find such wonderful people. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, people are more than willing to share their experiences.
These are people with soul, man. I got to tell you, they really are, and you really captured it absolutely beautifully. Now, I do. You also did something, and I'm always fond of your work, but you have T-shirts.
Yep.
You created T-shirts out of some. You've done all kinds of things. Hold up one. I know Rebecca has pictures that we could show.
Well, of course, I have pictures of the bridge, so that we miss so dearly. So I put my pictures up on the T-shirt.
I got it. And Rebecca will put some of those pictures up. Yeah. And so you made a whole bunch of them, right?
I made a whole bunch, different views of the bridge, because that's a popular one. Then I just got the latest, the old, when you come to City Island, you go to the diner But the diner used to be the donut shop when I came to City Island in 1974, and that's what it looked like at night.
Wow.
So, just to take some of my old imagery, and I also have to think in terms of making.
Well, you want to make a couple of dollars. Nobody would deny that.
So I figured I see fantastic artwork on people's clothing. So I figured, let me try it with mine.
Wow.
That's the series of the Goddesses of Pelham Bay Park. Oh, there I am back in 1974.
Wow.
Camped out in the back of my first store.
There's a whole
that as an anniversary for myself.
There's a whole selection of them. Now, I guess it's tougher during the pandemic to do stuff, but you've got a show coming up, right?
I have a show coming up this Saturday. It's called Artist Choice, which I put out a call. I don't refuse any artist who comes in with work. That's what I've been doing for quite some time now. If you give me the work, I will put it up. We have an opening. The work stays up for the entire month. So this month, we can go back to what I was doing before COVID. And the artists choose what they want to put up. And that's what I put
so
up.
the opening is Labor Day weekend, Saturday.
Yep. From
what time?
1 to 5, refreshments, wine and cheese, milk and cookies for children. So it's
everybody welcome. I wanted to ask you about this because one of the things that, as you know, I've well enjoyed and we've promoted them on our programs is the notion of children's artwork. You do things with schools. Have you been able to do it through the pandemic, or has that been one of the things that unfortunately has had to be put aside?
Unfortunately, we had to skip the April. That's generally when we would do it.
Oh, and last April 2020
we couldn't do it.
And even 2021 was great.
So I'm hoping for this coming April for next year that things will go back to normal and I can do the children's show. And I got to say, and that's sponsored by Joe Moscato, who I think you may have interviewed at some time.
Mm-hmm.
He's a photographer friend who helps finance that particular show. And I love children's artwork, as you know, and it's a fantastic show.
And what better way to inspire children to do better and to see their artwork. Hey, Mom, look, here I am, displayed here at at a real art gallery. So let's just capture it. Focal Point Gallery. What's the address?
That's 321 City Island Avenue. Of course, that's in the Bronx.
You're really right in the center of City Island Avenue. You're really right in the middle there.
That's right. And if somebody wants to call, it's 718-885-1403.
Right. One of the great places, and I was talking to my producer, Rebecca Hemick, and I told her that the next time she comes to City Island, have dinner, stop at Focal Point Gallery, say hello to Ron. There's always interesting stuff. There's T-shirts, there's portraits of people, there's all kinds of great stuff. You're really doing great work, and you've been doing it for decades. And I'm proud to call you a friend. Thank you so much, Ron Turner.
Same here. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That concludes this evening's Best of the Bronx Buzz. And guess what's going to happen? We'll be back next week with more. We'll see you then. Good night.